Well guys, Farmer Chris talked us into another tiling job. I thought we were done for the season, but we're going to run about another 7,000 or 8,000 feet. But that is not the purpose of this video. I want to take the time, kind of break down and give you guys my review, my analysis, my thoughts, the good, the bad, and ugly of the tile plow after the first season of use. Let's do it. All right guys, for some reason, if you've been living underneath the rock and not for sure what we're talking about, this is the tile plow we built back over the winter. There is an entire playlist on the channel of building this thing, testing, tuning, man behind the scenes, flaming dirt. The whole crew's got in on this thing at some point, so go back and check out all those. The purpose of this thing is to install pipe, or what we call tile. We call it tile because the old timers used to actually lay clay tile pipe. Nowadays we use what they call knife slit pipe. The purpose of that is to lower the water table in the field to improve the yield of the crops so they don't get drowned out or have root problems or stuff like that. So we'll get into that in a whole other video, but what I want to cover on this one is we built this thing from absolute scratch. It is technically what I'd call a prototype. Put this thing to work, put in just shy, I think we're like 92 or 93,000 feet of pipe with this thing in the last month and a half. And knock on wood, for the most part, we haven't had any major issues at all. It actually has blown my expectations out of the water at how efficient we've got it using this thing, how good a job it actually does. Now, if you guys remember a couple criteria I had back when I built this, I wanted to be able to plow at least 5 foot deep. We have met that. We can probably get about 5'6", but 5 foot's about our usable limit. We wanted to be able to install 8-inch tile. We've successfully done that, and I wanted to stay under $7,500. We did go over that budget a little bit, got right at 10 grand in this build. So let me kind of break this down. There's a lot going on here. We've learned a lot over the season using this thing. I just want to kind of fill you guys in on what all has happened. So we're going to break this down into 3 main pieces. We're going to call this the mainframe or the roller assembly. We got the boot, which is this right here, and then we're going to get into the grade control. So let's start off with the mainframe assembly. We made 2 design changes, if you guys remember, on this mainframe assembly. One is we completely redid this bottom pin mount, this bottom hitch. The original plan, we used the old drawbar on there. One of the best decisions we made on this thing. That, for removing the plow, putting it back on, strength, durability, reliability, that was a great decision. That new system has worked out absolutely flawless, except for the video where it actually cracked. Man behind the scenes come in and stick welded it. Ever since then, we have not had the slightest issue with that. It has worked absolutely awesome. The other small design change we made is we went away with the bottom rollers here and actually went with this flat foot to kind of spread out the load on this boot a little bit, and that has also ended up proving to be greatly beneficial. Now, we do have some issues with the boot. I'll get to that here in just a minute, but those 2 things there has pretty much made this as what I would call it borderline bulletproof. We have pulled on this thing with a 210, we pulled on it with the other 850J, we pulled on it with a Volvo, we've twisted, we've turned, we've done all kinds of crazy stuff, and that has held up absolutely awesome. Now, one improvement I do want to make is we actually used the old pins out of the rippers, using the ripper shanks, and you guys can see how much they're wore right here. And that's caused a little bit of issue holding grade and just a little bit of flex that I don't think needs to be there. So one thing I'm probably going to do here after the season's over is we're just going to get all new pins made. We'll use those pins for the plow, and we'll use these pins for the ripper shanks. And ripper shanks just sit there and rock back and forth. You guys can see how much they've ate that out right there, which gives us a little bit of play when going through there. But as far as the roller assembly goes, I think we've got a winner there. I was a little worried about it when we started having some issues with this, but once we made those design changes, bam, it's been absolute spot on. Love it. Now, a few other changes I would like to make to the roller box assembly has nothing to do with structure or strength. Convenience items. One, we need to put some cable steps on this thing. You guys have seen us struggling from time to time trying to get tile fed in up there in the top. I don't think it would take a whole lot to hang a chain step. I can't put anything rigid here because the dirt kind of flows up out of here, so it needs to be something that can kind of flop, but I don't think it'd take much more than a chain or a cable or something simple, and we'd have that issue taken care of. Matt's even suggested maybe just welding a step on the end of the ripper right here, which would probably work, but I don't want to. That may cause us issues later, maybe grabbing on something, so I'm not overly thrilled about that idea, but I could definitely get on board with a cable or chain step here. The next one is we end up putting a lot of tools, fittings, screws, carrying a lot of stuff up there. It's a really convenient spot to do that, so we may end up looking at mounting some toolboxes up here, or maybe mounting some milk crates for some fittings and stuff, because it's the ideal place to carry a lot of stuff along. It's just, I don't know if you've seen in some of the later videos, we just kept piling more and more stuff up on there. The downfall of that is we end up losing a few things in the field and we end up finding them later. So I need to make sure whatever we put up there, we get a little bit more secure. But other than that, absolutely tickled to death with that design. Here's the other thing we need to do. That ended up working out pretty good for being a place to hold a shovel. Another shovel hook back there, our dedicated shovel hook would be ideal too. Now let's move on to the boot. We do have some issues developing with the boot, so that pretty much covers the roller assembly. Let's move on to the boot now. Unfortunately, we do have some boot issues, but it's probably not what you guys think. So a lot of you guys have been saying that that boot's got to be plumb flat, wore out after 100,000 feet going through the ground. There just can't be nothing left of it. But guys, look, you can still see all of Aaron's welds. I'm not for sure it's really wore a whole lot at all, maybe a little bit down here on the tip, but look, it's still got the mill scale on it. Like, it hasn't even wore off the mill scale. It's still on the side of it. I'm absolutely dumbfounded by how little this thing has actually wore. And like I said before, this is just mild steel. We didn't do anything special here. This was proof of concept. I wasn't going to spend big bucks on plated or AR400 or anything like that. I wanted to see what happened. I'm glad I didn't waste my money, because this will last us many more seasons, at least 2 or 3 seasons without doing anything to it. And we may come in here and just put a thin layer of AR or something on top of it, but we still pretty much even got a point up there. It is crazy how little it's wore. The most wear I've seen is right here and right through here, where it kind of ejects that dirt up out of there, but it's minimal at the best. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is we bent the boot. Our boot's turned into a little bit of a banana. So I don't know if it shows up on camera, but if you look right here, the boot's got a kink in it and the top's kind of over like that. That has slowly been developing over time. It started whenever we pulled on it with the 2 850 dozers. At one time we were pulling, for all we were worth, about 4.5 feet deep with the 2 850 dozers, and we actually kinked the boot right here just a little bit. Maybe I can show you guys better there. Can you see how it's just kind of caved in a little bit? It's starting, basically it's starting to collapse the tube. Let me climb up on top. Maybe I can show you better from up there. Well guys, it's kind of hard to see down there. It's dark, but you're gonna have to take my word for me. The boot's got the ever so slightest little banana to it. And the backside of the boot, where that plate pushes it, it kind of shoved it in and started crinkling the sides a little bit. It's been like that for about the last 20,000 feet of tile. It's been kind of holding up, slightly getting a little worse, just kind of keeping an eye on it, but it's definitely something we're going to have to address here at the end of the season. It's not going to last a whole lot longer. So while I'm up here, I want to show you one other thing. If you guys see that piece of blue right there, is actually a shim. I guess whenever I built this, I didn't take into consideration how important it was to get that boot lined up with the tracks on the dozer. And we are off ever so slightly, but it's just enough on a long run. It just kind of keeps driving that dozer over to the left. I'll put that little 1/4 inch shim in there, straight as can be. So I'm not for sure where I'm going to take up that difference at in the future, but we're definitely going to have to address that as well. All right, let me hop back down. So overall performance of the boot, guys, the way it engages the ground, the way it ejects the dirt, the way it lays pipe, the way it holds grade, all that stuff has been flawless. Like, I don't think I'll change one single thing with my design. The only design issue, I'm going to air quote, that ended up being a little bit of a pain in the butt is we do gather dirt in that V notch right there. Now, it's not a big deal. We just kind of learned whenever I pull it out of the ground, Matt or somebody comes up there and just pushes out real easy on their side. As long as they push it out before I raise it up, it's not a big deal. I thought about trying to eliminate this roller or something, but I didn't really come up with a whole lot of good plans there. I feel like that roller still needs to be there, especially if I get crazy and back into something like backing off the lowboy trailer. And pushing that dirt out of there is just not a huge deal, but it is a little bit of a nuisance from time to time. So where do we go here? Where do we go from here to strengthen the boot and make sure we don't continue to have our problems? I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this boot off right in here somewhere, cut it off right there below the grade control arm, and probably going to use 3/4 instead of 1/2 inch, and then on the inside we may put some angle iron there on the inside, so those pressure points will spread that load out a little bit more. I don't know, I'm still kind of thinking about that in my head. That's kind of what I got in mind. But the other thing I think we're going to do is, since we proved this concept works so well, that boot will do 6 and 8 inch. I think I'm going to build a second boot that'll do 6 and 4 inch, which will be smaller, which will actually be the boot that I use the majority of the time. And if I do that, I got a lot more room in there to build it a whole lot stronger. And then this will kind of be a backup boot or an 8 inch boot if we need it. But that's kind of my thought process on all that. But overall, guys, it's hard. It's hard to complain. All right, let's switch gears to the grade control. Now, after dealing with the 210 and the MG, which is machine guidance, this has MC, which is machine control. This thing will actually control itself to do the grade. If you guys remember all the videos of Flamin' Dirt, he was huge, key, essential into getting this to actually work the way I wanted it to work. And overall, it worked awesome. Very pleased with it. But it did have a few small issues and a few shortcomings. The biggest one is we figured out is we used a Spectre receiver and we have a Topcon laser, and they don't like to talk to each other very well in the sun. On cloudy days, worked phenomenal. Sunny days, for some reason, that Spectre receiver would pick up false readings and it would make it do crazy things, and I'd have to catch it really quick and kick it off. So that was probably our biggest issue. The other issue was user error. Was my fault. It just took me a while. I could adjust how fast it went up and down. I could adjust the ratio between down and up. I could adjust a whole lot of different things in there, and it took me 2 or 3 jobs to get all those settings and kind of know what I need to have set. But once I got it dialed in, man, it was spot on. It was awesome. If we can get that thing to read reliably in the sunlight, it's just hit the trigger and go. It is phenomenal. A lot of you guys questioned me in the beginning about adjusting height with the up and down ripper instead of pitch. Most of them adjust pitch, but the way this ripper is, whenever it has a little bit of play in the pins, it's not brand new, and it does actually adjust the pitch of that thing. And that's one thing I had to do, was I had to adjust that thing so whenever it made an adjustment, it gave it time to dive or climb instead of just going crazy, and it worked great. Now, another shortcoming is soft ground. So whenever the dozer's in soft ground and that thing tried to adjust, a lot of times it would adjust the height of the tracks in the mud and not the boot. It'd get confused and start freaking out, and then we'd have to go back to manual mode. Which kind of brings me to another point, and this kind of falls under holding grade and the grade control, is honestly, I know a lot of you guys have commented this, but I really do probably need to hang 3,000 or 4,000 pounds of weight on the front of the blade. If I hung a little bit of weight up here on the front of the blade, I think it would really help me hold grade, because that ripper goes up and down. Sometimes it just wants to hinge on the back of the tracks because there's so little weight out here in front. I never did get around to experimenting with that, but I do think if I can find a way to quickly hang, I don't know, 4,000 to 6,000 pounds on the front, I think it'd be a huge help. But the problem with those weights is they kind of fall into the same category as putting the hose reel up there, or the tile reel or a tile feeder up there, or different things like that. What makes this thing so awesome is it's so universal. Is I can plow through, I can take the blade and push a tree off, I can take the blade and cut my next pass through, I can level myself up so I'm plowing level on my next grade. If I got a tile reel or if I got a weight hanging up there, it kind of starts limiting me what I can do with this. The only thing I can do at that point is plow tile. So I like being universal. So I need to find a way to mount weight up there but still be able to use the blade, or make something where I can go up to, lift the blade up into, and keep on going, and I can set it down and go on. So I'm not 100% for sure what I'm going to do there. Definitely got a few ideas of what to do. So the other thing about the grade control, and you guys remember me talking that we kind of offset that so that mimics the front of the boot, because we want the front of the boot to be the most important part of grade. That worked great. One shortcoming we had, and I kind of knew this may be an issue, by being offset off to the side right there, is whenever this thing gets in a ditch and goes left or right, it throws me off grade. Now, I did this enough and I ran enough tests that I know if I'm leaning how far off grade I need to be, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, so I could still hold grade, but I had to make a manual adjustment to do that. I may end up either moving that in closer or moving it up above to just help our tolerances on grade with less input or thinking on my behalf. The less inputs, the less thinking you got, the less chances you have to make a mistake. But overall, guys, we dug up this tile numerous times. We laid some of this tile in some very, very, very tight tolerances, and nothing I seen concerned me at all about the performance of the grade of this thing. Time and time again, we dug this thing up, 1/4 inch of water just running in the bottom of it, absolutely perfect, which is exactly what you want to see. So no complaints there whatsoever. I'll hit on the performance of the Dozer real quick. 850J, about 230 horse, roughly 52,000 pounds. This was plenty of Dozer to pull this particular tile plow. 36 to 40 inches deep, decent conditions. This thing would walk the dog, no problem whatsoever. You get into some mud or you get below 48 inches deep, every once in a while it would need a little bit of help, which is kind of what I expected. That's what I wanted it to do, but for the most part, we could just walk on. Our average plowing speed was right at 1 mile an hour, so that's 5,000 feet an hour we were covering. The Dozer will actually pull it faster than that, but it gets a little bit hard to hold grade tolerances. So that's kind of where we decided that's the fastest we could go and still be comfortable with our grade, is right at 1 mile an hour. So very, 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 very pleased with the way the Dozer pulled this. You guys seen us take the plow off a handful of times and use it just as the Dozer. Balance perfect. That worked absolutely great. So overall, guys, I am ecstatic, almost blown away with how well this thing works. So a little bit of food for thought here is, like I said before, I had a little over $10,000 into this thing. It pretty much paid for itself with the second job. After the second job, we were in a profit. We were making money with it. If I would have went out and bought a tile plow, I think we did 7 tiling jobs this year, the last one being the big one, I'd have about half of it paid for right now. So was it worth every penny and cent I spent on this thing, and what little bit of money I'm going to spend to redo that boot and build a new boot? Absolutely. I'm so far money ahead, it's ridiculous. And this here is a much more convenient setup for me, for what we do. We're not truly in the tiling business. We just do a lot of work for farmers. We need something quick and easy to pop some of these tiles in for them, and this has fit the build to an absolute I mean, I cannot, honestly guys, I could not be more pleased with the way the whole system worked, the grade control, the boot, the whole thing. It's just been, it has worked absolutely awesome. So that's my thoughts. Comment down below, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Did it surprise you how well it worked? Were you guys disappointed how well it worked? Is that where, I know some of you guys kind of were concerned about the boot being a weak spot, which has showed itself. It's taken a while to show itself. Any changes or thoughts that you guys would make? Two other things you guys suggest a lot is cameras. Put cameras on it so you quit looking behind you. I'm gonna have a hard time to quit looking behind me. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of pipe going down that tube. I feel much more comfortable seeing it with my own two eyes and not looking at a screen. A few cameras may not be a horrible idea, but I don't think I'd ever be dependent on them. The other suggestion I get a lot is put closing wheels behind the plow to close the ditch in. One, I don't want to add any more drag to this machine. We're pulling enough, we got enough weight hanging back there, I don't want to add anything. And two, they'd have to be adjustable with the boot. We got so much stuff going on with keeping grade, keeping line, keeping stuff. The last thing I want to do is worry about closing wheels. Now, I may end up building a ditch closer for the skid steer, an actual tool to do that instead of running up and down with the dozer blade. But man, Jerry was on our butt the whole time. Jerry could keep up with us closing ditches like it was nothing. So I'm not sure if I want to speed him up. I'm not sure how high that is on the priority list. But back to my original statement, is there something else you guys would do different? Any suggestions, any thoughts? Am I missing something you see from the videos you'd consider adding? Comment down below, let me know, guys. This has been a fun build. It was very relieving to see it work. It was surprising to almost see it work as well as what it did. We're gonna make a few small adjustments, mostly to the boot and the grade control, and this thing's gonna be back in business again next season. So that's my thoughts on the Tile Plow. I want to give you guys, I've always done these reviews after I had these Hyundai machines for 3 or 4 months. I do a review video and post it, but I want to do this one a little bit different. We got the 210. It just come off its first job. I've put 30 hours on it. I want to give you my initial thoughts. So let's jump over to that machine real quick, and I'll kind of cover that. Well, there it is, guys. We've already got her moved into the next job. First things first, I just think it's a good looking machine. I like the styling, I like the colors, I like everything about it. So first impressions, the first thing I noticed about this machine whenever it was sitting on the lot down there, I'm like, man, that just really don't look like a whole lot bigger machine than the 120 or the 140. I got it on the lot down there, swung around, played a little bit. And the way this thing is set up, they just got, for being a bigger machine, it don't feel awkward, it don't feel clumsy. It's got great visibility, and it'll kind of fool you about how big a machine you're in until you load it on a lowboy trailer or actually stick the bucket in the dirt or start doing something with the boom. Then you're like, holy cow, this thing is a little bit bigger than the 120 or the 140. I don't know how they packed that punch into this size, but they definitely got it going on. But like I said, we put about 30 hours on it. And believe it or not, Jerry has put close to 15 of those hours on. Out of all the hours on this machine, Jerry's running it just about as much as what I have. Yep, we got 30.7 hours on it right now. And Jerry told me I should consider buying this machine. He's never told me that about any other machine I've ever had. So I'm going to take that as Jerry likes this machine, and it operates very, very smooth. So this machine has what they call, let me get this right here, I'm going to look on the door, has the EPFC, fuel savings, fine grade control. And as I learn more about this, I promise I'll explain this to you guys, but you can program this thing to pretty much fit any fuel you want. I haven't quite got it exactly tuned where I want it, speed versus sensitivity, but I know it's in there somewhere because I've been on both sides of it. So the good part about that system is I'm confident whatever your operating style is, you can dial this machine into it. Maybe one slight downfall of that machine is there's too much adjustability, and if you guys don't know that it's that adjustable, maybe it's all over the place and you're like, well, that machine's not what I want, but it is. You just got to tell it what you want. So overall, I am super impressed with that. It's almost got like a soft start on the controls. Like you reach out there, you can pull back on the control and it'll just kind of start coming in and go. I'll try to demonstrate that on camera at some point, but it is a pretty cool feature, and overall the machine is super smooth to operate. So let me hop up in the seat here and show you a few things. All right, first off, guys, love the cab on this machine. It is roomy. Everything is laid out very nice. They've updated this control here. You can actually use this to run the monitor. Got everything you need right here. Radio, everything is easily accessible. Like I said, very comfortable, great visibility. Everything's at your fingertips. I still absolutely love this Hyundai monitor. But one feature we added on this is this 2D MG. So two-dimensional, slope and grade, and MG is machine guidance, not machine control. So basically it tells me what I should do, but it don't actually do it for me. The first day we used this thing, we were trying to dig a very precise slope on a long run of tile. And I'll be honest with you, I was getting a little bit frustrated with it. And what I come to find out is I was a rookie at this. I needed to adjust my digging style and a few things I did to get the result out of the machine I wanted. Now I don't know if that's the best case scenario to use this, and to this day I don't know if I would have dug that without a grade rod man checking me. But I have found this thing to be hugely beneficial in some other scenarios. Like if I know how deep that tile's dug, I just tap the ground, set it. I know the tile, oops, that's not the wrong one. I know the tile is down, let's just say 2 feet. I type that in, hit OK. So basically at this point, it's now going to warn me when I get close to that tile so I don't actually dig into it. Digging these start holes coming away from the tile, we just need a couple % of slope. So if I know what the base grade is down there, I can make sure I got a rise coming out of there. No need to set up a laser or do anything like that. There's also been a few other times where I'm just checking grade. If I want to know if water's going to go this way or water's going to go that way, I'll just reach out, put the tooth on a spot, program that as 0, swing around, touch another spot, and it'll tell me if it's higher or lower. That has proved to be pretty beneficial. So I think this system, I need to give it more time. My initial thought was, I don't know about this, guys. And then I'm like, this is kind of handy. And now I'm like, yeah, I'd probably invest in that. So I'm kind of going both ways on it. A little more time with it, we'll see. But it's what I'd call a starter system. It's a very affordable beginner setup into machine guidance or machine control. And I do like, it is very user-friendly, which is what I really like about it. So overall, I'm gonna give it a stamp of approval for right now, but stay tuned for more updates on that. Last thing, work brow bucket, work brow thumb. Unfortunately, I have not used either of them yet. The majority of the time on this machine has actually been using an old 2-foot bucket I had digging tile lines down there on that last job. But when we just moved into this job, we got a lot of clearing to do. So we're gonna put this combination here to the test. I'm really curious to see how it performs with what I'm used to clearing these trees and this brush. That's the one time, clearing trees and clearing brush, that's the one time I repeatedly think in my head, man, I wish I had a bigger machine. So we're gonna figure out what it's all about, hopefully tomorrow. The last thing I want to hit on is just the overall performance of the machine. I've ran a lot of 210s, a lot of 220s, including Chris Let's Dig's 18s, and there's some good ones out there, guys. There is no doubt there is some good ones out there, and I'll be the first to admit, the Volvo 220s, they are hard to beat. They are awesome machines. They're fast, they're quick, they're powerful, they're smooth. They really hit on something there with those Volvo 220 machines. I'm not ready to say quite yet. This one's right there on par with it, but guys, it's not far off. Give me a little bit more time with it, and we'll see what we got. I know it's got the power. I know it's got the same finesse. I just don't know if it's got quite the same speed yet, but I think I can dial that in. So time will tell, and we'll see where we're at. I'd love to get Chris down here to run this thing and get his thoughts on it. I'm not for sure if that's going to work out, but if we can find a way to make it work, we will definitely do that. But comment down below, guys. Let me know what you think. I know you haven't seen a whole lot of it on video yet, but what's your guys your guys' initial thoughts on the machine. What have you seen you like so far and don't like so far? One thing I have noticed is the 4-cylinder Cummins does not seem to be lacking on power whatsoever. We got all the horsepower we need underneath the hood. I'm still slightly concerned about fuel consumption. I need to get it out on a job like this where we're doing more consistent work and kind of see where we're at before I have a full opinion on that. I think we're going to be fine, but yeah, she's a beauty. She's a beauty. All right, that's enough of me rambling. You guys hit the comments, let me know what you think. Stay tuned, guys. We got a lot more cool stuff coming, and hopefully it's not plowing tile. Whew. Farmer Chris is trying to sneak in one last job. We got believe it or not, this is actually the property we bought, Jen and I bought. We're going to try to do a little work here before Farmer Chris gets planted. We got some lakes, some ponds, some billion pads, a lot of cool stuff coming up. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big old thumbs up. Want to make sure you don't miss out on the other cool stuff. Consider subscribing. That way we can catch you guys on the next one. Later.